Ayana.
We were, yeah, she's standing back.
She ain't heard it. She's standing back.
Isaiah 2:4 says, "And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore."
Tools to rebuild the town. Ceasefire. We say no more oppression and genocide. Protect the living and see the God inside. Free the people, tear the walls down. Stand for justice on this sacred ground. Ceasefire.
We not only have to ask ourselves, what would Jesus do, but what would the Jesus in our modern times do? What would MLK do?
Ceasefire. powerful. It is now day 116 in the genocide on Gaza. And if you're anything like me, you're asking yourself, where is the hope? And what can I do? Well, you found yourself at the right live event today, because at Bright Stars of Bethlehem, hope is what we do. Our vision at Bright Stars of Bethlehem is that all people in Palestine would have life in abundance. And our mission is to raise awareness and support for Dar al-Kalima University, the first and only university in all of Palestine. You know, there's a lot of statistics that we're all seeing about the war on Gaza. And each and every one of those numbers, including the almost 30,000 people who have been killed in Gaza, have stories behind them, human stories, many, many stories behind them. And today it's all about stories today. We actually have an incredible panel of individuals, all Palestinians. And we have one student who used to attend our Gaza campus, the satellite campus in Gaza. We have two students who are currently students at the Bethlehem campus. We have one of our vice presidents from Dar al-Kalima University. So it's going to be a really compelling program. You're going to be able to hear the stories behind the statistics. Before we start, I wanted to mention that because these folks are joining us, most from Palestine, one individual is coming from Belgium, we might have some issues with the internet. So just bear with us. We'll deal with it together if that happens. Also want to let you know that you'll have a chance at the end of the program to ask questions, but for now you can start putting the questions into the in now, before the program ends, so that the questions will be ready for when we do the Q&A as well. So why don't we start with a panelist who is actually the individual who coined the phrase, hope is what we do. Hope in Palestine is what we do. He's the founder of Dar al-Kalima University. He is the co-founder of Bright Stars of Bethlehem. He's a scholar, a prolific author. He's a pastor, an all-around consummate world changer. His voice today is a voice that needs to be heard, a voice for such a time as this. In fact, he just was on a tour of the U.S. where he was able to use his voice to speak about these issues to over 1,000 people here in the U.S. Welcome, everyone, my friend, Reverend Dr. Mitri Raheb.
So good evening, everyone. Great to be with you this evening, and I'm really thrilled that we have several members of our family, of Dar al-Kalima family, with us this evening. We have my colleague, Dr. Ihab, with us. We have 3 students, and I'm very excited and good to see also many friends and names that are with us this evening. I would like to start by giving you an update about what's happening mainly with Dar al-Kalima. And you saw the song that we started with, calling for a ceasefire. This is part of things we do these days. Advocacy. Advocacy maybe makes 80% of my time right now. To raise awareness about what's happening in Gaza and in Palestine, to educate people about what's happening. And so almost on daily basis, I have Zooms like what you see here. This is from last Saturday with Vanderbilt University. I have had the tour, as Chris mentioned, through the US, but also, as you can see here, I was on Democracy Now!, again, spreading the word. That was around Christmas time. Educating people in churches like here in Atlanta 2 weeks ago. We had, as you can see, a full church. And many more people were on Zoom. This is really never as crucial as now, because not everyone has the chance to hear the story from Gaza or the story from Palestine. The mainline media in the States, if you follow them, they don't tell you the whole story. Here, for example, I was with the Presbyterian Church at their summit. I was the keynote speaker and talking about Matthew 25. And you can listen to all of these talks actually on Bright Star's website or my social media. So this has become now a very, very important part of our ministry here in Bethlehem. And I can tell you that the Christian voice is a very important voice in what we do. Because for many people in the US, especially like more on the conservative side, maybe they don't want to talk about Palestine, but the issue of Palestinian Christians gives us the inroad, an entry point to talk about Palestine. So we keep talking about Palestine because this is what really is needed now. But also part of our work has been advocacy also with the government. So 2 weeks ago, again, I was in Washington, meeting like here in the White House, at the State Department, with the national security people, but also in Congress. And we met here with several senators and Congress people to basically push for a ceasefire now. Rashida Tlaib, you know her. So we met with people who are supportive of us like Rashida, but others who are not necessarily supportive, like Senator Rubio from Florida, who is very much pro-Israeli, but also we wanted to talk to those who maybe are not on our side, because we didn't want to preach only to the choir. So we were reaching people across actually the American divide. The second point I would like to make this evening is that I hope many of you watched or were able to watch the deliberation at the International Court of Justice, where it was South Africa that brought our case to the court. And South Africa was not like by chance that they took on this issue, because South Africa went through settler colonialism. They really experienced apartheid firsthand. So they could exactly know of our story and our suffering. You know, Bishop Romero once said, there are things that can only be seen through eyes that have cried. And the eyes of our friends in South Africa have cried for so long. And this is why they could relate to our suffering. And so, no, we need to go back to the picture before, please, Tiffany. Yes. So the president of the ICJ accepted the case from South Africa and said that that some allegation against Israel fall within provisions of genocide, of the Genocide Convention, which was an important point for us, because it says the court has the right now to look into genocide. Now, this might take years, but again, it was an important point. However, we were a bit disappointed by the verdict that came, because they did not call for a ceasefire, but for humanitarian assistance. Basically, they borrowed the U.S. position at the court. I'm not sure, maybe for many reasons, but still, it was again an important step towards bringing our case and justice to Palestine. Many Palestinians were comparing the verdict against the Ukraine with the verdict regarding Palestine, and you can see the difference like day and night. There, they really condemned Russia. They asked for end of hostilities, etc. They did not do that for Palestine. So you can see, we feel even with the UN institutions and with those institutions that have to speak up for justice, often they fail to do so because Palestine continue to be the exception. The third point I would like to do is that the situation in Gaza, we will hear about it more later, but also the situation in the West Bank is very dire because the Israeli military on daily basis, they raid Palestinian cities, including Bethlehem, on daily basis. So here, this is from last week. You can see Israeli military vehicle in front of the Church of the Nativity. They come and they detain young people. There are today over 4,000 young Palestinian people that were jailed between October 7th and today. So in the media in the US, you hear about the 130 hostages in Gaza, which are war prisoners, but you don't hear about the 10,000, 4,000, and previously we had also 6,000 that are still in jail. So altogether, today there are more than 10,000 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli prisons. In fact, this morning, something happened which, again, I mean, if something like this happened anywhere in the world, people will be really, angry. Israeli military went into one of the hospitals in Jenin. They dressed like Palestinians. They came with Palestinian cars. They entered as visitors into the hospitals, and they looked for some young Palestinian people that were injured because they shot at them, and they killed them while they were in their beds in the hospital in cold blood. And so you can see the rage that our people have. And again, we feel that nobody talks about these issues. I would like next to speak also quickly about our center in Gaza. You know that Dar al-Kalima is the only university in the West Bank with a small campus in Gaza. And this is how our campus used to look like just 1 month in September. A month before October 7th, a place full of life, full of energy, full of creativity. Every month we had an opening of a gallery, of an exhibition, great vibration, positive vibration. Unfortunately, our center has been damaged. It was not destroyed in the earth in an airstrike, but heavily damaged. The Israeli put all the, as you can see here in the picture, all these cars that they destroyed. They put all of them on in our courtyard after destroying the small wall for our boundary. Then there was a family that took refuge there in the house, but then they had to evacuate because our center is in the back of a Shifa hospital. And you heard about a Shifa hospital that was heavily bombed by Israel. And I heard, we don't have pictures of that last week our center was put in fire. We are not sure by whom, because the whole area is still heavily controlled by Israeli snipers. But we are committed to rebuilding our center as soon as it is possible. The next point I would like to say also quickly, because we will hear from our students a bit more about that, about the dire economic situation in the West Bank. You will hear about it, about Gaza, but even in the West Bank, because 130,000 Palestinians who used to work in Jerusalem or in Israel are not allowed anymore to work there, so they are unemployed. But we have also in the West Bank, especially in Bethlehem, 70% of our people in Bethlehem depends on tourism. You can imagine we don't have any tourists, so all hotels are closed, restaurants, souvenir shop, all of them are unemployed. So we have the unemployment rate right now maybe around 70% in the Bethlehem region. Add to that all of those working in the government, government employees, and they are also in the 10,000 that were not able to receive their salaries because Israel is again is not passing on our tax money to the Palestinian Authority. So if you see the three of them, you can see that we have a big problem in raising fees from students, and we have to subsidize over and above the subsidies that we give, that we need to do now. But also you can imagine the traumatization of people in Gaza. I mean, I cannot speak about that. I mean, you can imagine all of these children, women who lost their families, and they saw how their family were slaughtered. I mean, how can we heal those wounds of the people in Gaza? But also people, I tell you, in the West Bank are traumatized. I see that in our staff. I see that in our students, because when you see all of these images like this on daily basis, you know, it makes you really depressed. And so how can we offer healing? And this is why actually it became very important to do interventions in psychosocial work. And as you know, our university started the first master degree in art therapy of all of Palestine. We have really some of the top niche professors with us in this field, and now they are actually training the next generations of healers, but also they are offering now for students, for staff, for parents of students, sessions of post-traumatic stress. This is what we were doing in Gaza, and I have some pictures about that. This is what we did in Gaza after the war. Ismail, that you will hear from him in a bit, you can see him here when they were actually working at a school, and he can maybe talk a bit more about him. And the one to his left was actually killed, that is Muhammad, was killed in the first Israeli airstrike on Al-Ahli hospital, the Baptist hospital. And we can see some other pictures of Muhammad who was murdered. Here, you know, again, they were in the school painting the school so that it has a friendly environment. I think we have one more picture. No. Yeah, that brings me actually to the last point I would like to do, is that this is a picture of our campus. You can see here it's empty because all classes so far from October 7th until now were mainly online. We started now in January for the practical trainings to bring some students who can come, because it's dangerous still for students to come from far places. But mid-February, we hope to go back to in-person because a college needs that. You need friends like Jude and Luciana to meet together. They haven't seen each other now for so long. The atmosphere of a university with all the interaction is so important. But this is also important at times of crisis like this for people to come together and to process together and to learn together. So please keep us in your thoughts, in your prayers, as we are starting now the new semester 2 weeks from now in person, and hopefully we'll see how that goes. So this is a quick, overview of some of the issues I wanted to raise with you this evening. But I come now to another special, part of this webinar to invite my colleague, Dr. Ehab Siso, to welcome Dr. Ehab. Dr. Ehab is Vice President for Communication and International Relations at Dar al-Kalam University. And he served for several years as the Palestinian Minister of Culture, and was, I think, really the most visionary Minister of Culture that we had since 1995. Dr. Ehab, welcome. Good to have you with us this evening.
Thank you, Reverend Mitri. It's my pleasure to be with you, and I hope this would be a very exciting session to talk about Gaza and culture. So thanks for all your efforts, and I would like to extend also my greetings to all the people who are with us now and watching and listening to us.
Dr. Ehab, you are based now in Ramallah, but you were born in Gaza, and I think our friends maybe had no idea how Gaza looked like when you were a kid there.
Right, yes. First of all, hello everyone, and I'm very pleased to be with you in this session talking about Gaza and joining Reverend Mitri, who is a special and dear friend of mine. I know him for years, and now I'm so glad to be part of the family of Dar al-Kalam University in Bethlehem to work with Dr. Mitri on how to improve the lives of the Palestinians through art and culture. When we are talking about Gaza, I think we are talking about a city that was created thousands of years. Unfortunately, I would have loved to talk about Gaza in different circumstances where it is not associated with war or casualties, but this opportunity maybe is very important to lay down a few foundations about Gaza as one of the most important cities of the ancient world that was created thousands of years ago and continued its legacy as one of the centers for culture, business, and trading through all the civilizations that came across the region, particularly in the Levant and Egypt. This makes Gaza has a very unique and a special location, and also a very unique and a special status among other Palestinian cities. Gaza is considered to be the hub for culture for hundreds of years. Interestingly, also Gaza has been one of the major centers for Christianity in Palestine and in the region. And here I would like to drive your attention that one of the churches that have been bombarded or targeted by the Israeli soldiers, St. Prepharius Church, is considered to be the third oldest church in the world. Plus that Saint Hilarion, who is a Gazan saint, found his first monastery in Gaza on the hills of Gaza, and that was the first monastery in the whole Palestine in 291 AD. So Gaza, for many years, been the center for civilizations, center for culture, for trading, and it has also its spiritual significance. Till today, there are many excavations discovering several layers of history regarding Gaza, whether it is AD or whether it is in recent years. So I would like to also say that it is very important to explore this rich history and this rich significance. A few years ago, maybe I would like to drive on this story. An ordinary fisherman of Gaza, while he was on his boat in the siege of his daily business, he actually discovered one of the ancient statues of Apollo, that the Greek god who was worshipped in Gaza through many years and by many people for years, due to the closeness between Gaza and the Greek islands. And that statue proved another significant history of Gaza that was actually drowned in the sea for hundreds, probably thousands of years before it was discovered by this fisherman and handed into the authorities in Gaza to do all the experimental procedures on it. So this is just a very maybe wide perspective. Needless to say that Gaza enjoyed one of the most ancient ports in the old world. It was called the Amphidon, northern Gaza city. Unfortunately, this excavation on the port, which also explains a lot of the cultural and economic and international trading in the old world, has been totally flattened by the bombardments and the latest bombardments of the whole entire city of Gaza. Now, if I want to take all of this heritage and all of this historical and cultural significance into my own personal experience, I myself was born in the Baptist hospital, which again was targeted by the Israeli bombardments and suffered several massacres of the people who took refuge in this hospital. Christian families, Muslim families who thought that by being at the hospital, they would find some kind of refuge from the air base. Unfortunately, hundreds of people that they were held in this hospital in different occasions. I was born in the Baptist hospital in Gaza, a few yards from St. Preferius Hospital. And that was when actually I started to discover that this hospital itself was among the oldest hospitals in the whole region of Palestine in the 20th century. The hospital itself, it was constructed in 1906, serving the population of Gaza and many areas around Gaza. So this hospital, it has also its significant location, it has also its significant mission that is serving the whole community, the Palestinian community. There was no differentiation between Muslims or Christians or people from different faiths. That was during the whole 120 years of the age of this hospital. Now, as we speak of 2024, the hospital is suffering a lot of damages because of the bombardments, and it is almost out of service. Now,
Doctor, maybe I would like to hear a bit more about your personal story. So say when you went to school, how was life in Gaza at that time? And where did you then do your graduate studies? A life of a Palestinian from Gaza, just for people to visualize a bit.
Absolutely. It was actually, with all this heritage, it was embedded in the daily activities, in the whole procedure, how we are continuing and conducting our daily life. I was educated in Gaza. I finished all my schools in Gaza. None of my schools, the primary schools, the secondary school, actually managed to survive the bombardments. They were all destroyed because the indiscriminate shelling of different locations in Gaza did not spare a hospital, a church, a mosque, nothing. Gaza, in 116 days, turned to be a very a broken city. I may say very bluntly, it turned to be a very broken city.
And what were the languages that were taught at the school? I mean,
definitely there are a few languages. I myself was educated in Arabic and English, but obviously there were other languages. German was taught in the private schools in Gaza, as well as French. But the major languages, they were English and Arabic of the students, and starting from primary schools, moving to secondary schools. But yeah, during all these years, I remember I was born in 1978 myself. So during the years of the 80s, I still remember various locations within Gaza, although Gaza suffered all these years because of the occupation, since it was occupied in 1967 in the Six Days War. But it's still, we managed as Gazans to have some of the joy within all these odd times. I still remember my childhood at the YMCA, where it was one of the cultural, if it's not the main cultural and the sports center in the city, with all its cultural arts and sports programs. I used to spend many, many hours during even vacations or even during the weeks participating in various of the projects that was launched by the YMCA, especially in art and sports and camping and so on. Gaza enjoys one of the most beautiful beaches that you could see on the Mediterranean. I still remember all these old days, the cafes, the hotels, even the motels on the beach. I absolutely was fascinated to remember all these days and evenings and during even summer or even winter and the gatherings. Gaza has no less than any other city that can be imagined during all the periods of joy, entertainment, and interestingly also culture and the people. Meanwhile, maybe people, they won't know that Gaza has one of the oldest cinemas in Palestine. I mean, the first cinemas in Palestine, it was built in Gaza during the 30s and the 20s, and many of Arab and Palestinian artists who came to attend the premieres of their movies during the 40s and the 50s in Gaza, and the cinemas continued to serve the Gazans and the Palestinians till most of them, they were shut after the occupation, and then obviously due to the economic besiege that extended even before the last 17 years since 2007, it became not profitable for the cinema owners. So this is something to tell you that the sea, the historical, the spiritual, the cultural significance, the joy, the entertainment, all this made Gaza one of a special place that during all my childhood, I always considered to be one of the most beautiful cities. I recall all the memories of my childhood in Gaza. Unfortunately, all of this has vanished. This is no exaggeration. This is just simply the blunt truth after 116 days of the war. All what I'm talking about was completely flattened and reduced to rubble.
I think for another time, we would like to hear more about, this Gaza that maybe many people don't know about, this cosmopolitan city with a vibrant culture. But I know the last, these last months were very tough on you personally. Though you live in Ramallah, but your home was there. Can you tell us something about, your home there, what happened to it, etc.?
Yes.
And where it was located?
Yes. First of all, I want to say that by the day 116, we are talking about almost 4 months of non-stopping bombardments. So this is not just something that took place for a few days or a few weeks. Now we're talking about 4 months of continuous bombardments of Gaza, causing several damages. Now we're talking about almost 26,000 people who were killed, lost their lives, adding to this number another 11,000 who are missing under the rubble. Nobody knows anything about it. If we take this sort of ratio that we are talking about 1% of the population of Gaza, they have been killed. Another 3% of the population of Gaza, they are injured. If we compare this ratio to other nations, if we're talking about the US, for instance, with 340 million people living in the US, that as if 34 million people lost their lives. This is how, just to compare the ratios in order to understand the devastation that goes by all the families, not most of the families, all the families of Gaza. So we're having about equivalent to 34 million people, they have lost their life, equivalent to 70 million that they have been already injured. In the middle of all this chaos, my house in the heart of Gaza, in what is being called as the Unknown Soldier Square, which is a very famous square in the heart of Gaza. Unfortunately, during the old days, the beautiful days, it was called the Champs-Élysées of Gaza. where it is a center for the businesses.
And we have a picture. We have a picture of that street. So maybe Tiffany, if we could see that, please. Continue, Doctor, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was called, as I said, the Champs-Élysées of Gaza, the center for business, economic, and leisure places for various years. Unfortunately, that street and that square was severely damaged. During this damage, my parents' house was destroyed, and unfortunately, I couldn't even protect all the old memories. I mean, the physical memories, which I would believe that it's like the family photo albums, the clothes, anything that I could just have be from my parents. Both parents, my father and my mother, passed away a few years ago, and I have no brothers and sisters, so I was their only son. So I just wanted to have something of this house and all of this childhood memory. Unfortunately, I couldn't, because the house was also reduced to rubble because of the indiscriminate bombardment. Many houses in the area, they suffered a lot of damages if they were not destroyed like my house. And that caused me a lot of devastation, grief, and anger and frustration, because I am here in Ramallah, which is about an hour drive in normal circumstances without a checkpoints or occupation to be from my hometown. I cannot reach my hometown, and my parents' house is just gone. That was something that
Dr. Ihab, I know that, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, I know you like, I mean, you are at the end of the day also a poet, so you write and you read. I know your library also was destroyed in the airstrike. How many books did you have there, just to give us an idea?
Well, I was brought up in a house which we used to joke about it with my late father and say we used to have a home library is grown into a living house. So we had thousands of books in philosophy and culture and art that used to surround my old days of childhood. And maybe this contributed very much into me loving the whole world of books and art and culture and pursue my degrees in cultural studies. I did my first degree in architecture, but then I moved to international communications and culture. But our home library was gone. Thousands of old books, they are under the rubble. I'm not sure if maybe because of the situation now, some of them, they might be used, or sorry, they might be have burnt, or they are just under the heavy rain completely destroyed. But thousands of books of our home library, they are gone. That my father and my parents in general, they used to keep them, read them, and I still remember all these beautiful old days of these. Even our reading room that was within our house was also, of course, it was gone.
Yeah.
To add to this, maybe I mean, I in parallel to this documentary, I lost many of my cousins who were actually with their families due to this. 3 of my cousins with their families, they have been killed because of the indiscriminate shelling. And to add more salt to the wound, what happened 10 days ago was something that even beyond expectation and even beyond imagining. Unfortunately, few Israeli tanks, they have bulldozed the cemetery where my parents are born. So I don't have even now the graves of my parents. My father and my mother, they have absolutely now no specific location, because the cemetery was completely flattened alongside hundreds, if not thousands, of the buried Palestinians for various hundreds of years. So this is something that I'm taking with me while I'm here in Ramallah, commuting sometimes if it's possible because of the war to Bethlehem, to come to the university, to campus. But then I have to deal with all this grief and all this frustration, all this traumas, that Gaza, the one city I loved and I loved my childhood, and it no longer exists. Gaza is now turned into a very broken city that it might need tens of years, if not more, to be healed from the deep wound that have been caused by this brutal war and this genocide that is taking place against all the civilians of Gaza.
Yeah, Dr. Ihab, I think we can listen to you until, for 2 more hours. Unfortunately, we ran out of time for this section of the meeting. Just to end, in one sentence, do you have if you would like to pass one message to our friends in the US in one sentence, what would that be?
Right. Well, my message would be actually composed of two parts. The first part that humanity and calling for human justice cannot be divided. It is a universal motive that we all learn. So when we are asking for justice for humanity, then we cannot spare a people out of this equation. So as long as we are talking about justice, we have to include the Palestinians, and we have to say that the Palestinians who are living under the occupation, they are deserving justice as any other nation in the world, without any hesitation or even any delusion about their right as a human beings. Secondly, I want to drive this message to one important message. This is where our academic institute is located. I mean, we need the support of all our friends from all over the world, and particularly from the US, and particularly from our friends who are attending this webinar, to look into our program at Dar es Salaam University. We are the only university that specializes in art and culture. And since you found this university, Reverend Mitri, in 1995, and you've been working and committing in how to use and how to facilitate art and culture into the help of people by expressing themselves and by being a major and daily routine of their life, exploring their identity and their desire for freedom and future. We need the support of Dar es Salaam University. We need the support for Dar es Salaam University for existing programs in the West Bank, but also to rebuild the facility in Gaza and to help the people who've been traumatized in Gaza and who've been suffering for the last 4 months. God only knows how long this war will take, but we are committed to help the people and to work all together as brothers and sisters around the world, and particularly from the US and from all the communities, that they cannot spare justice from one nation to another. So this is my probably message to the world and to the people. We need your support and help for justice and freedom to accomplish peace for every nation on the world.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ihab. Pleasure having you with us. And I think this is really a good segue to move to hear from 3 of our students. And here I give the microphone to Chris, my colleague.
Thank you, Dr. Ihab and Reverend Mitri. Those are very fascinating and important updates. We appreciate you both. Okay, so everyone can see this beautiful painting behind me. This reminds me of our next guest, who was a student in Gaza at our Gaza satellite campus. His name is Ismail. Welcome, Ismail.
Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Ismail. So good to see you. You know, many of our friends probably know your face and know your story because you have been contributing your beautiful art to Bright Stars of Bethlehem for our raffles. And also some of our friends have even commissioned some of your work. So we're happy to have you here today. And we would like to hear your story. So first question I have for you, this is really kind of funny and interesting. Yesterday when we were doing the practice with Dr. Ihab, both of you were silent for a long time, and then all of a sudden Dr. Ihab said at the end of our practice, Ismail, I know you. So tell us how you know Dr. Ihab.
First of all, it's grateful to be here with you in this webinar. So I want to thank you for that. I knew Dr. Ihab when he was the Minister of Culture in Palestine. I drew a portrait for him, and I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And you know what? I was thinking to myself, the portrait was probably in his home that was destroyed. So yesterday you were able to send me the portrait. We'll get that to Dr. Ihab, so I'll at least have an electronic version of that. So that's an interesting connection. So again, you grew up in Gaza, just like Dr. Ihab did, but you grew up in a different area. Yeah. He grew up in Gaza City, and we're going to put the map up here. Can you tell us, please, where you grew up?
Yeah, I grew up in Khan Younis City, in the refugees camps in Khan Younis City.
Yeah, and you can see that it's very, very down south in Gaza, okay? So you grew up in Khan Younis, and you spent your life there. Can you talk to us about how you got connected to Dar al-Kalima University?
Yeah, in 2016, I applied to study in Dar al-Kalima University in Bethlehem. and I got accepted to study there, but because the occupation prevented us of moving between Gaza and West Bank, I wasn't able to go there. After that, in 2019, I joined the Dar Kalima programs in Gaza campus. And I got a lot of skills of them. They developed my skills as an artist, and they helped me to start my life and start my art life.
Yes. Oh, we've seen some beautiful work that you've done. And I understand that you had a nickname or a special name that they called you in the refugee camps in Gaza because you got a reputation for doing all of the beautiful murals all around town. Many of them you were commissioned from businesses to do the murals. What was your nickname? Was it the muralist of Gaza or something, or the painter of Gaza?
They was calling me the painter of camp.
The painter of the camps. That's wonderful.
Yeah, of the camp. Yeah.
So, so during your time in Gaza, you really developed your skills, and with the help of Dar al-Kalima University. And then, what was your dream, and how did you end up? Right now, you're in Belgium. How did you end up in Belgium?
In 2022, I moved from Gaza to Sweden to participate with my art. I spent 1 year there, and after that, I moved to Belgium in June of 2023. I applied for asylum, and right now I'm living in a private apartment, and I'm still waiting for the asylum.
Okay, and so you originally moved to be with your brother, who is living in Sweden also, and he's doing something that's kind of interesting. He's doing the parkour. He's an expert in parkour, and he was traveling all around the world doing that. Okay, I'm sure you miss your brother a little bit.
Yeah,
you miss
very
him.
much. Yeah, very much.
And I'm sure you miss the rest of your family who's in Gaza. So would you mind sharing, Ismail? My heart has been with you. All of our hearts have been with you as you've gone through this journey. I'm sure that when you heard about October 7th, you were just devastated because you're worried about your family. Can you talk to us about what's going on with your family and what their journey has been like in Gaza since October 7th?
In the beginning of the genocide, they were exposed to many shocks because the bombing around my home, and after that, my family displaced to Rafah. Right now, they are living in a tent. They are facing the difficulty in getting the food, in getting the clean water. They are suffering from the cold too.
I'm so sorry. We're all so very sorry for the trauma that your family's been through and that you've been through. Rafah is further south. They've been pushed further south. Is that correct? Tiffany, can you put the map up again? I think that's where the family is living. Now, your sister and her husband were not with your parents when they moved to Rafah. What happened to your sister and her husband and their two precious babies? What happened to them a few weeks ago?
My sister survived of killing, survived of bombing after the Israeli military target her home. And after that, she displaced to Rafah with my family. My sister gave a birth during the genocide.
She had a baby, a beautiful baby boy named Adam.
Yeah.
He's
Adam is
he's
2
precious.
months old.
He's 2 months old.
Adam is living in a tent right now, and he's suffering of the cold too, like my family, and it's hard to describe that because he's still a baby.
Oh, he's so precious. And again, I'm so sorry. Please know that we're praying for your family and for you. Last question, Ismail. What is your life like now in Belgium, and what's your hope? What's your hope for the future?
For now, I began to prepare for my first exhibition, which talk about genocide and about my hope. It will be in June. Yeah. So that's what I do.
That's super exciting because we know that you've always been dreaming about having your own exhibition. That's really, really exciting in the midst of all of this trauma. Tiffany, can you put up some of the paintings that are going to be in his exhibition? I think we have some. Right.
Yeah.
I noticed that around after October 7th, your paintings started to become, originally when you were young, your paintings were very dark and of much trauma because you had been through several wars yourself when you were young. And then it started to become more hopeful. So your paintings, look at that. It's brilliant and yet so painful. But your paintings speak to what your life is. It tells the story of your life. And just be encouraged, Ismail. Know that you're making a difference in the world with your beautiful talent that you have. And know that we love you and we care about you, and we'll continue to pray for you, all of us at Bright Stars of Bethlehem. Thank you for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank you and to thank Dar Kalima University for giving hope in this point. I really thank Dar Kalima and the Bright Stars of Bethlehem because they helped me to find the hope and follow my dreams. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ismail. Be encouraged. We'll talk again soon. Take care. Okay, now we've got two other students, and I'm going to bring these two students on at the same time because they are best friends. And in the interest of time, I think it'd be kind of fun to introduce them both. We've got Jude and Luciana. Welcome. Ladies, so good to see you both. The last time I saw you both in person. We were together at the courtyard at Dar al-Kalima University. We had the most wonderful chat and laughed so much. And so you're basically best friends. When was the last time you two saw each other?
116 days.
116 days, the same number of the days of the genocide. That must be really hard because, at Dar al-Kalima, one of the beautiful things about Dar al-Kalima is the friendship, and the camaraderie that you have on campus and the ability to spend time together. But again, thank you for joining us both. I'm going to start with Jude, and again, so good to see you, Jude. One of the the first interaction I ever had with Jude was when I was traveling from Hebron to Bethlehem, but we were going to stop at her refugee camp and pick her up and interview her. A simple interview. It was all going to be great. And we got a call from Jude moments before we got there, and she was crying because she had just been tear gassed by the Israelis. They just randomly threw a tear gas cans at her while she was standing on the corner waiting for us. And I'll never forget, Jude, the poise and the incredible strength you had, because I said, we don't have to do the interview, honey. It's okay, because you were suffering. You were crying and your eyes were burning. And you said, no, Chris, I want to do this interview because I love Dar al-Kalima University and I want the world to know what hope my school brings. So what more can you say about Dar al-Kalima University and your time at Dar al-Kalima University in terms of bringing your hope even in the midst of this genocide?
So first of all, I want to talk about me looking from now and then at the pictures and memories in Dar al-Kalima University and the amount of family vibes that I used to feel it's not something formal, it's like family, and we used to have a lot of fun. And even the doctors, they're so friendly. Even in our online classes, they're making us have fun and enjoy. And it's really amazing, where you can have a safe place to go to away from all of the chaotic space that I'm living in. Right. I can only imagine. And you are indeed attending virtually, and you have been for the last 116 days. As Dr. Mitri said, there's hope that in the next 2 weeks that you'll start again
in person. So I hope that that happens. And Jude, I remember you telling me that your family is a Bedouin family, a Bedouin background. How has this genocide affected your time in the you live in the refugee camp, your family lives there. How is it affecting just life in the refugee camp now?
It has a lot of effect on us mentally and physically, like, because we're not allowed to go out. There's like 3 main entrances for the refugee camp, and they're all like blocked by soil and electric doors, and IDF being there the whole time. So they don't allow cars to go outside of the camp. So it's really hard to even go to Bethlehem when it's like 15 minutes away from me, but I'm being like blocked from going there.
Wow, that must be really difficult. Are you? How old are you, Jude?
Well, I turned 23.
23. Recent birthday? Yeah. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
And what is your major? Can you remind everybody? I know they've learned that before.
I'm studying sustainable tourism. Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say to our friends in the United States that are with us today, our friends from Bright Stars of Bethlehem, in terms of anything? Is there anything you'd like to share?
Yeah, honestly, like the way the Western media are sharing our stories is not doesn't bring justice to us. So I want the people to be our voice and share our like suffering and pain and what we go through on daily basis. Because like here in the West Bank, we are used to all of that, like the daily killing and the injustice. But what we are not used to see our people being dismembered and displaced, and it's really inhumane. So like I don't want to be like unfair and talk about my suffering when people like they're not safe, they are in a tent, they don't have a place to go back to. Personally, I have a university to go back to, but the students in Gaza, they demolished every single university in Gaza, so they lost hope and they lost future, and even their basic human rights.
Right. Absolutely, Jude. It's heartbreaking. And I think one thing that we can all hope and pray for and try to do something about is a ceasefire at this point. And then, of course, get rid of the occupation, and then humanitarian aid. But thank you for having a heart, to want to speak out and for using your voice. I know you've been on another Zoom call with Dr. Mitri as well. We appreciate you talking. As a young person, you are the next generation of creative leaders in Palestine. And we have so much hope for you, and be encouraged and know that we love you as well. Thank you, Jude.
Can I share like a few of the stories that's happening around me currently? And
absolutely. One story, because we're going a little bit over, but yes, please do share a story.
Like my neighbor, he's like 11 years old, and he was playing with his friends, and an IDF soldier decided like to shoot him in the thigh, and now he's unable to walk again. And another story of the same girl in my town. She's 21 years old. She's a mom of a baby girl. She's 6 months, and a female sniper soldier, she shot her in the head while she was on the rooftop of her home. And now the baby girl is alone with her dad.
Jude, I'm so sorry to hear that. These are people. These numbers are people. And I have no words. I have no words. And just know that we're doing as much as we can here in the United States. And we see you, and we care about you, and we want to make this stop too. Thank you for sharing that, Jude. Sending you much love, my friend. We'll talk soon. Oh boy. Lucy, welcome.
Hey, Chris.
You are also a tourism major, is that right?
Yeah, I study sustainable.
And what year are you, Lucy?
What?
What year are you in? Your third?
No, I'm on my second year.
Second year, okay. So Lucy, you live near Bethlehem. What town is that?
No, I live in Bethlehem in Beit Jala.
Oh, Beit Jala.
I live in
Beit Jala. Okay. Something I know about you, Luciana, is that you you have parents that have been deeply affected financially by this genocide. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah. Okay, so since the war has started, the economic here, especially in the West Bank, has gotten really bad. People started losing their jobs. Job opportunities is gone. People don't have any work anymore. Prices in the markets has increased so much. And as you know, Bethlehem depends on tourism.
Yes.
It really
Yes.
depends on, because of a holy place we live in. We have the Church of Nativity. We have a lot of holy places in Palestine. So since the war has started, tourists stopped coming here to Palestine because it's really dangerous and it's really scary for them to come here, and it's not safe at all. So since the war has started, tourism, especially people who work in tourism, stopped working. Souvenir shops has stopped working. Hotels has closed. Everything in tourism has closed. Let me give you like this an example of my mom. My mom used to work in a souvenir shop as a salesperson, and now she stopped working. She doesn't have a work anymore. She's just in the house. She doesn't do anything. She doesn't have anything to do, so she just stays home. This is life.
So difficult. And thank you for sharing, Lucy. And your father, I understand he used to work in Israel. And I want to remind our viewers that 250,000 permits were canceled by Israel for Palestinians living in the West Bank that used to live in Israel. And your father was one of those Palestinians. Is that right?
Yes, my father used to work as a construction worker in Jerusalem. He used to work to go there every day at 5 a.m. He used to go to every border there, and he used to have a permit with him that let him go inside of Israel. But now he doesn't have a permit. He can't go there. Even if he did have a permit, it's so dangerous for him to go there. No, my father he's a little bit of an old man, like he's 25, 52. He doesn't have this energy to fight or do something. So he can't go to work anymore.
I am so sorry, Lucy, to hear that. It's just devastating. That is a different type of wound when you find yourselves as a family unable to bring in, finances to pay for food and to pay for your university tuition. I'm so sorry that's happened. Is there? So you will be joining the rest of the students in a couple of weeks. I want to ask you, on maybe ending on a hopeful note, what is your dream? And I realize that all of this that's happening might make you feel a little bit less hopeful about your dream, but we want to hear your dreams.
Okay, I want to be a very popular tour guide that talks about Palestine and talk about all of the holy places in Palestine, and talk about our suffering. And I want to tell the whole world that we are suffering. We own this country. We own this beautiful place that we have. And I want to share my story and our stories and the whole story of our Palestinian people.
Thank you. The Palestinian people are the most resilient, strong, vivacious people that I've ever met in my life, and you're one of them. Be encouraged, Lucy, and know that we care about you, we love you, and we will be standing beside you in this. Thank you for coming on as a panelist today. I'm going to call all of the panelists back now, and we're going to just take maybe 2 questions from our audience. So if everybody can come on back in. Ismail, Jude, Dr. Ehab, if you want to, there you go, unmute and put your cameras back on. Okay, I'm not sure if, here comes Ismail, and Dr. Ehab, I'm not sure, here he comes. Okay, thank you. Mitri, would you like to ask the first question?
Yes, maybe I can just quickly answer the first question about the song that we started with. This song was put by an African American pastor, Pastor Mark Thompson, and actually all the people that appear are very well known people in the African American context. You saw maybe some politicians, but also you saw some, very well-known theologian, etc. So you can watch it again, that one. So I will go to the next question. Maybe this is to Dr. Ihab. Can you tell us to what extent the old city in Gaza has been affected by the bombing?
Yes, actually, the old city of Gaza has been severely damaged, and many of the old places and the old alleys in Gaza have been targeted by the discriminate shelling. So we are talking about that almost 90% of the old city had been flattened and reduced into rubble. This includes the residential areas. Old Gaza used to be part of 5 neighborhoods: Shajaiya, Tufah, Zaytun, Al-Daraj. They have been severely damaged in these areas. As I said, St. Betharia's Church has been really targeted. Al-Umri Mosque, which is considered one of the oldest mosques in the old city, also has been destroyed. And old markets and all the places. So we are talking about a very big and severe damage. And this is, maybe I would use this as an opportunity to say that we need to raise this voice of this broken city into international organizations, particularly to the UNESCO, because many of these places, it has a very cultural and human significance, not only for Gazans, not only for Palestinians, but in order to understand a very important phase of the humanity and for the humankind and civilizations.
So actually what's happening is a cultural genocide, because Israel has destroyed almost all cultural spaces and places in Gaza. And this is not because they wanted to target Hamas. They want to make the place unlivable and to destroy the memory, the history, and the rich culture of that town. Another quick question also for Dr. Ihab. Who is a Palestinian leader who could sit at the table to negotiate a two-state solution?
Oh, my Lord. Well, it is very important to say that the Palestinians, as I mentioned in my presentation, they deserve their freedom. They deserve to live with dignity and protection as any other nation in the world. And this is something that we've been struggling for ages and ages, to be granted our rights to live as human beings. And you heard from Smail, from Jude, and from Lucy how ambitious we have the coming future generation of people who want to express their own dreams and passion towards living in freedom. So I think the first step towards achieving this is by the international community, and particularly in the US and in Europe, to recognize the state of Palestine, as they previously did in 1948 when they recognized the state of Israel. The state of Palestine on the occupied territories that have been already occupied in the 6 Days War. And on the social and the political and educational level, I think this needs a lot of effort, because this is a very big and deep wound for the Palestinians. And maybe people, they are not aware what this Israeli military machine has left in the memories of the Gazans and the Palestinians for years to come of destruction. Then the day the war ends and the time where international, probably journalists and humanitarian workers started to enter Gaza, you will discover a vast destruction that what we are seeing on the screens and even on social media. So this requires a lot of work to be done, not only by the Palestinians or Palestinian leadership, but it also needs the international community to step in with a very strong and not reluctant position to say, well, those Palestinians who do deserve their right and their freedom, and by granting them this, that is serving the humanity. Otherwise, we would be in an endless circle of aggression that is caused by the military. It is a simple equation. No other nation in the world is still living under occupation, Reverend Mitri, and as we all know. We are the only nation in the world that is still living under occupation. And we are not hating anyone, as sometimes it has been articulated. We are just simply saying that what we need our freedom, and we need the other nation and the Israelis not to hate us and not to say that they don't deserve this freedom, because this is a universal value. This is what we've been taught in schools. This is what we are teaching our next generation. And this is what we are believing, unlike all this rhetoric about not having the Palestinians, they should go and they should be expelled, even voluntarily. And I mean, I have to stress here that all this expression about voluntary immigration or voluntary move, it is still part of a war crime, because when you are creating all the conditions for the Palestinians not to live in their area and you're pushing them away from their homes and from their towns, this is again another form of displacement. Yet it's not direct, but it is directly affecting them. So I think we need to think about it not only as Palestinians, but also as an international community to stand in the face of injustice that is being caused by the occupation and its military machine.
Thank you, Dr. Ihab. I get the message that Dr. Ihab have been nominated to be at the table by the participants. So.
You too, Mitri.
Maybe I can answer another question, and then I think the last question I will leave to Chris. Can Dar al-Kalima offer humanitarian assistance to individuals in Gaza? Unfortunately, we cannot do that for many legal reasons. But what we are trying to do, for example, we have so many artists that we are working with, creative artists like Ismail, who lost their homes, lost everything, at least buying new paintings that they will do would help them survive at this time. You know, I'm thinking, for example, of one of our also students, Subhi from Gaza. His home was bombed. He lost his family in that bombing. He was sleeping outside on the street because many, you know, they had many other neighbors in their home, etc. And he called me and said, look, Pastor, I mean, my house was destroyed. I lost many members of my family. I'm now displaced in the south, in Rafah. My atelier was destroyed and all my paintings are gone. The only thing I have left is the one painting that you have in Bethlehem, because we had an exhibition and we had his painting. We brought it from Gaza to Bethlehem to be exhibited at our university for the international conference. And this is now the only thing he has in life. And we are going to do actually, hopefully, an auction about that so he can have some income to survive and to rebuild his life. So it's these kinds of things that we can do by helping people, especially the artist community. And, you know, there are hundreds of creative artists in Gaza that we have been working with, and most of them have left their home, including the director of our center, Rana, that some of you have met, that she lost her house and she's now displaced also in more in the south. So yeah, this is what we can do. And the last question I think is for Chris. How can I help Palestine?
Thank you, Mitri. Before I will answer that question, but before I do, I would just like to give profound gratitude to you, Dr. Mitri, Dr. Ihab, Ismail, Lucy, and Jude. Thank you so much for participating with us. Your stories are the stories of the visionaries of Palestine, the current leaders of Palestine, and then the next generation of creative leaders in Palestine that are going to make a difference in the midst of all of this. And I also want to say to each of you as an encouragement from all of our friends here in the United States, all of our Bright Stars friends, that again, we love you. We are inspired by you, by your resilience, by your courage, your creativity, your strength, and we just we encourage you to continue to have hope. We don't have all the answers. None of us do. But we do have hope, and we are hoping with you, and we are doing hope with you as well. So thank you, friends. All right, the question is, how do we help our friends in Palestine? If you are a supporter of Bright Stars of Bethlehem, a financial supporter, you are already doing hope with us. You are already helping, because investing in Bright Stars of Bethlehem is investing in the next generation of creative leaders like Ismail and Jude and Lucy and their friends. As you heard from this, from the news from Mitri, we have a huge deficit because of our parents who used to augment the students' tuition. The tuition is $5,000 a year for each student. Parents used to pay about $1,500 a year. And now the vast majority of our parents cannot afford to pay anything. So we at Bright Stars have a big challenge this year, but we are up for it. We know that we've got friends that care like you. So we ask that you continue to give. You prayerfully and thoughtfully consider a gift, maybe doubling the gift that you gave last year. I know it's a sacrifice, but if we truly want to help, this is something that we can do to bring hope here. I also want to say that something else you can do is educate your congregations, educate yourselves. If you're with a group that has the ability to bring some of us out to where you're at to do a presentation. Sometimes Mitri can come, so feel free to ask. That it's a little bit more tricky, but he definitely will be visiting the United States, hopefully a couple more times this year. Also, one of our board members, Linda Edens, has prepared a very compelling and thorough presentation about Gaza, the root causes, which I also join her sometimes, where I will talk about the hope after she talks about the root causes. So we're willing to travel to come to your congregations or to, talk to groups. I think that's a really good first step if you're with a group of people that don't know anything about what's going on in Palestine. Education and awareness is the first step. And then, of course, giving of yourselves and prayer. Okay, we'll end with that. We all need prayer right now, that there would be a ceasefire, an advocacy for a ceasefire, advocacy for humanitarian aid, and ultimately advocacy for the end of the occupation. Thank you, friends. We went a little bit over today, and I apologize about that, but I think we can all agree that these stories need to be heard. These voices need to be heard. We appreciate you all, and we care about you, and we thank you for all that you do for Bright Stars. Take care, dear friends.